3 May 2146 Imperial Calendar. City of Cyrenia, Principality of Axiom. For the last 2 days, Elijah has been tormented by the unrelenting sounds of battle raging above him. The constant barrage of rockets and artillery strikes that had besieged the city seemed to have ceased since yesterday morning. But now a new, ominous sound fills the air. He and his family are fortunate enough to have built a bunker beneath their house, thanks to his father's paranoia and foresight. Although small and cramped, the bunker is well stocked with supplies that could last them for months to come. Elijah, his younger sister Zoe, and their mother Alina hold on to hope and pray to any higher power they can think of, hoping that Sebastian, their father and husband, is still alive. The ongoing sounds of fighting mean that the Alliance forces are still putting up resistance, giving them a glimmer of hope that Sebastian may still be out there somewhere. But as the night passes, the sounds of fighting begin to decrease and are gradually replaced by desperate cries and pleas for mercy. Despite being deep underground in their bunker, the air vents allow them to hear everything happening on the surface. Elijah knows that his mother, Alina, is just as scared as he is, but she puts on a brave face for the sake of her children. Zoe, on the other hand, constantly asks their mother if their father will come back home. Alina always reassures her with a yes, but as each day passes and their time in the bunker grows longer, her once confident answer begins to waver. The acrid scent of burning fills the bunker, a harsh reminder that their home, brimming with memories and comforts, is now gone. Elijah can feel the weight of all the items they could have grabbed before fleeing into the bunker, objects that could have provided solace and nostalgia in these dire times. But it's too late for that now, as they huddle together in the cramped space, surrounded by the stench of destruction and loss. Despite the devastation, Elijah finds himself clinging to hope. If they make it through this ordeal, he vows to create new and better memories with his family. With their base likely destroyed, he dreams of finding a new home closer to the sea, where they can start fresh and explore new places together. As he ponders their future, thoughts of all the possibilities and adventures fill his mind. As long as they are together as a family, he knows they can overcome any obstacle that comes their way. Since they ran into the bunker in a hurry, they do not have anything that can actually tell time. The only indication of time passing is the constant sound of the ventilation system starting up every 4 hours. To him, it feels like they've been trapped in this tiny bunker for days, maybe even weeks. In the beginning, his mother would tell stories to his sister, trying to calm her nerves and distract them all from their dire situation. But as time went on, even his mother, Alina, was running out of things to say. They try to have conversations, but the weight of their confinement and the loss of their former lives has made everything feel dull and meaningless. The future they once imagined is now just a distant dream, fading with each passing moment in the cramped bunker. A thunderous knock reverberated through the bunker's door, causing Alina to jump in fear. She immediately grabbed the dusty shotgun stashed in the corner and pointed it toward the source of the noise. A second knock, followed by more, sounded, accompanied by a familiar voice calling out their names. Alina, Elijah, Zoe. "This is Alexander," the voice said urgently. "Alex!" Alina's heart fluttered with a glimmer of hope. "Yes, it's me, Alina," confirmed Alexander. As they cautiously opened the bunker door, their eyes were met with a devastating sight. Alexander stood before them, his body battered and wounded, covered in blood and bandages. Behind him stood equally battered Alliance soldiers, tense and vigilant as they scanned their surroundings. The once home was now destroyed beyond recognition. The night sky was filled with thick black smoke, and explosions echoed in the distance. Alexander helped them out of the bunker, and Alina searched frantically for her husband. "Where is Sebastian?" she asked Alexander, with dread creeping into her voice. As soon as she spoke those words, Alexander's expression dropped, and tears began to form in his eyes. "He only died because he was trying to protect me. If he had just left, he would still be alive," he said with a heavy heart. Alina collapsed to the ground, tears streaming down her face. Zoe ran to her mother's side, also overcome with grief. As Alina stared at Alexander, his body slumped on the ground next to her, she felt an overwhelming sense of loss wash over her. Her husband, her rock against the storm, was gone. Elijah stood nearby, tears rolling down his face as he looked at his broken family and friend. For the first time in his life, he felt completely helpless. His father had always been there to protect them, to guide them through any storm that came their way. But now he was gone, and Elijah felt a sense of despair wash over him. Through her tears, Alina noticed Alexander on the ground beside her, his face contorted in grief as he continued to slap himself. She knew that he blamed himself for Sebastian's death. Alexander had been a close family friend for years, and she knew that Sebastian's loss was devastating for him as well. In between sobs, she spoke up. "It's not your fault," she said with conviction. "We all know Sebastian would never leave anyone behind. He sacrificed himself to save you. Don't blame yourself for his choice." They sat there for what felt like hours, their bodies pressed together for comfort and support. Finally, when they regained some strength, Alexander spoke up. "The Imperials have overrun the base," he said gravely, handing them each a set of protective gear. "They infiltrated the base and took out many of our best soldiers, including Sebastian." The sadness in his voice was palpable. "We've gathered as many civilians as we could within the school and are trying to get them evacuated," Alexander continued, beginning to move with his squad of soldiers. Each one scanned the surrounding area for any signs of danger. As Elijah finally climbed out from under the remnants of his destroyed house, he saw the devastation that had befallen his neighborhood. What used to be a row of quaint houses was now reduced to rubble and flames. He took a deep breath, the acrid smell of burning wood, plastic, and flesh filling his lungs. As he looked around, he saw pieces of the dead scattered all over the street, a grim reminder of those who were not lucky enough to survive. The scene before him was like something out of a nightmare, a glimpse into hell on earth. The deafening sounds of armored vehicles and marching soldiers echoed through the deserted streets as Alexander cautiously signaled for his companions to hide behind a nearby building. His grim expression upon returning revealed the grave danger they were facing. Despite their efforts to blend into the shadows, Elijah could hear the desperate pleas of begging victims and the terrifying blasts of gunshots ringing in the air. As they navigated their way through back alleys, Alexander and his soldiers skillfully kept them hidden from sight. But when they turned a corner, the sight that greeted them was one of pure horror. A massive, matte black armoured vehicle with 8 wheels came barreling towards it, its slick paint seeming to absorb any light around it. The blood-stained armour gave a glimpse into the terror it had caused as it carried screaming and crying prisoners tied to its chassis like grotesque trophies. And emblazoned on its surface was a singular black cross. Surrounding the vehicle were fully armoured soldiers, their gear matching the same light-absorbing black as their vehicle. Their rifles crackled with electricity, sending deadly arcs down the length of their weapons. With razor-sharp precision, they scanned their surroundings while moving in perfect synchronization, their movements completely soundless save for the high-pitched screeching of the vehicle's engines. As the armoured vehicle slowly rolled away, they continued on their journey with heavy hearts and a sense of dread. As they neared the school, Alexander's eyes widened with terror as he saw the same soldiers who had just left now entering the building. Some of the soldiers in the group begged Alexander to at least try to save some of the people trapped inside, but deep down they all knew it was futile. The school was already marked for death, and they were powerless to stop it. With pain and anguish in his eyes, Alexander turned to the group and said, "The school is compromised. I don't know if we can save anyone inside. Our only chance is to escape the city." They all nodded in agreement, knowing that time was running out. As they made their way through the outskirts of the city, Elijah couldn't help but feel like he was walking through hell on earth. He saw familiar faces of people he grew up with lying dead on the streets, shot from behind. He witnessed innocent civilians being led into buildings and then those same buildings going up in flames. The ruthless efficiency with which the Imperial soldiers executed civilians filled him with rage and determination to make them pay for their sins. As they approached a small grocery store, they heard voices coming from inside. One man urgently said, "Hurry, we need to get out of here." A younger woman pleaded, "We can't leave her behind. It's too late for her," replied an older man. "If we keep dragging on, the Imperials will find us." When the group realized that these were just innocent civilians trying to escape, Alexander stepped forward and called out, "Don't be afraid. We are part of the Alliance." The younger woman's hope-filled voice asked, "Are you here to rescue us? Are there more Alliance soldiers coming?" Alexander's next words shattered her hope as he replied sadly, "No, we are the last Alliance soldiers left in the city." Elijah could see the disappointment and fear in the girl's eyes as she realized their situation. When Elijah finally had a chance to get a good look at the pair, he recognized one of them as Ava. Their families had been neighbors for years, and they were childhood friends. Ava's once golden hair was now tangled and dirty, her usually bright green eyes filled with rage and desperation. As Elijah went over to hug her, she pointed to another girl sitting on the ground with an injured leg. "Look who we have with us," said Ava, a glimmer of hope in her voice. "It's Lily." Lily, with her brown hair and blue eyes now dull and lifeless, gave a weak smile and greeted Elijah. "Hi, Eli." Elijah couldn't believe that they had found more survivors, but Joe, Ava's dad, was already urging them to leave. Ava protested, "We can't just leave her behind, Dad." "We have enough people to take care of," Joe replied sternly. But Alexander interjected, "We have enough resources to bring one more person with us. We can't just abandon her." In the end, they all agreed to bring Lily along, despite Joe's objections. They knew that every life mattered, and they were determined to do whatever it took to ensure their survival and find a way to defeat the Imperial forces. The group navigated through the treacherous back alleys and maze of underground tunnels, their hearts racing with fear and hope. Alexander turned to Joe, his voice trembling with anger and sorrow. "Where did you find these survivors?" he asked, eyes filled with pain. "They were hiding in the library basement until the Imperials set it ablaze," Joe replied, his voice heavy with sadness. "We're the only ones who made it out alive." He paused, his throat tightening as he continued. "But we were supposed to get food before attempting to escape. Lily, the poor girl, got shot while running across the street. Her parents died trying to help her escape." "Damn those Imperial bastards!" Alexander seethed between gritted teeth. Finally reaching the end of the sewer system near the outskirts of the city, they turned back for one last glimpse of their home. What they saw would haunt them forever. Giant pyres blazed in the distance, black-armored soldiers tossing more and more people into the flames. The smoke that filled the sky was not from burning buildings, but from the bodies of innocent civilians. And amidst the chaos, faint screams could still be heard from those trapped in the inferno. The survivors stood frozen in shock and horror, their hearts shattered at the sight of their once peaceful city now consumed by fire and death.